Welcome back to the Reseller Journey podcast. And in this episode, we got Karya, a fashion expert, boots on the ground, going to give us some insights on some of the fashion trends, current trends that clothing resellers should be picking up in 2025. If you're looking to grow your business and you are a clothing reseller, you're going to want to take some notes because she's got some amazing information. I got all her links linked down below to use as a resource to be able to help you grow your business. So welcome to the party, Karya. I've been looking and studying your Instagram profile to really educate myself in my business to be able to know what trends I should be looking to pick up, what trends I should be looking to avoid in 2025. Really just a wealth of knowledge. So I'm so excited to kind of pick your brain. What in the heck's going on in the world of fashion, style, aesthetics? It's kind of mind-blowing just to see like how quick things change too. But before we get into it, I just actually want to know, give us a little backstory on yourself. Who is Karya? How did you get into this? Where are you coming from? And what do you do as a business? What is it that you do?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I feel like not a lot of people really realize what I do, day to day. But thank you so much for having me. My name is Karya Shanalak, and I run Karya Street Style. It's Instagram, but I've also, bled over to other platforms. But it is, I am just kind of spotting what people are wearing day to day, and either whether that is every day in New York City, where it's just where I live, or at do you hear an echo?
We could fix that. We got a button for
Okay.
that. Boom. Hopefully it's fixed.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's fixed. Okay, cool. Okay. Sorry, should I start over or
No, you're all good. I like it raw, unedited. We gotta fix the echo because I want you guys to be able to hear. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just showing your profile here. Looks like you've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see like you were on the ground, literally what
Mhm.
people are wearing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so just tell us a little bit more like what is the backstory of your business? Like how did you get into it?
Yeah, so I've been doing photography for decades at this point. I'm 30 and I think I picked up my first camera when I was 9 years old. And I was just really passionate about photography, and I ended up getting my undergrad in it. But my undergrad was very, art. It was art school, studio art. It was a lot of film photography. It was a lot of studio based, like just very, I don't know, yeah, just very not commercial at all. And so then when I graduated, I was kind of like, there's no way I can be a professional photographer with kind of the background that I have. This was nice. So I ended up pursuing a career in arts administration. So I worked for a number of arts organizations after I graduated. But at the same time, I was working in retail at a Buffalo Exchange, actually. And so I was a buyer, and I was learning about trends and what people were looking for when they were coming into Buffalo Exchange, looking for secondhand clothing. And two, I was meeting a lot of people who were into fashion. Like there were a lot of fashion students who were working there, people who were starting up blogs. This was 2016, so this was kind of like the peak of blogs, fashion blogs, like actual physical blogs, not just Instagram.
Right.
And people learned that was a photographer. I did photography. And they're like, oh, I need photos for my blog. So I ended up doing photos for people. And I had no idea what I was doing. It was completely different than what I had ever done before. But I really liked it. I really liked it a lot. So it kind of just snowballed from there. I started working with more people. I was like, maybe I should actually, get a business license and start charging people and all that stuff. And then somewhere down the line, I met somebody who I was living in Seattle at the time. That's where I'm from. And I met somebody who was visiting from New York and hired me for a photo shoot, found me just through Instagram and told me, I think you would really like New York Fashion Week. I was like, oh, And, in my mind, New York Fashion Week was like this just kind of big, unachievable, like, only celebrities go to it kind of thing. But she's like, no, like, it's actually pretty accessible. Like, and for street style photography, like, what I think you would love, like, you literally just show up and stand outside of the venues. I was like, okay, I can do that. So got my tickets and everything. I roped a friend into going with me so I wouldn't be completely alone. And I tried it out and I loved it. And so then I went back the next season. And then I went back the next season. And then I moved to New York because I was just creating more connections and making friends here and just kind of realizing that, okay, this is really what I want to be doing. So yeah, I covered three seasons of New York Fashion Week while I was still living in Seattle. Then I moved to New York August of 2019.
2019.
And then, and yeah. And so then ever since then, I mean, in the beginning, I was kind of like just purely covering street style and I wasn't really doing a lot of like analytics or trend analysis. Any of those things that I do today, I was just kind of dipping my toes into it and kind of being like, okay, this is fashion. This is what people are wearing. But I was making a lot of friends and clients with people who were bloggers and influencers who were more focused on like, okay, what is trending right now? What do I need to be wearing? What's coming down the runway? And that kind of just started to rub off on me. And I started to, um, you know, recognize patterns that I was seeing and just started, kind of writing about it. Like I would, at the end of every season, I would put together a blog post. It would just kind of be like just all of the photos, so that I could pin to Pinterest. But then eventually I started writing a little bit and kind of being like, here are the trends that I've seen, like grouping photos and like, and yeah. And then I don't know where to go from there, but
No, and here you are. That's amazing.
yeah.
You turned a
Snowball from there.
passion into a business, and there's nothing more beautiful than that. Are you a reseller looking to make extra money? Well, we are expanding our wholesale team and we are hiring. We buy thousands of pieces of clothing every week, and right now we have 31 people on our wholesale team. If you are looking to double your money quick and you shop at places like the Goodwill bins, thrift stores, flea markets, yard sales, we're going to be able to work together. We provide you with a brand list of over 300 brands, and right now we are buying thousands of pieces of inventory every week. So if you're wanting to make some extra money, book a call down below, getpaidtosource.com. We'll get you onboarded and we'll start putting some extra money in your pocket. In the resale space for clothing, I don't know how involved you are, but just over the last few years, I started 4 years ago, and I sell men's and women's clothing, eBay, live selling, Poshmark, all the platforms. And it's interesting because over the last few years, there's been a huge, more people are talking about like style-based aesthetics, style-based sourcing, because not everyone has access to the top high-end brands to resell. So there's a great way where you can really make a big business, six-figure business, picking up just style-based aesthetic items, things from like the Goodwill bins, Goodwill outlet, flea markets, where most other people pass it up because they're like, if it's not Gucci, I ain't picking it up.
Right.
So show me where the authentic Gucci is and we can talk. But it's really cool because, a lot of resellers reach out to me and they go, I'm not trying to learn these styles. Where are you learning it from? And I usually just send them your profile, say, hey, just go study this lady's profile. She's got it right here. So there's a big need in the community for education, learning about what's trending. And I think with women's clothing, there's a lot more come and go, with the styles that change and stuff. So, and we'll get into that. We will get into that. So, and this is my first and favorite question is like, what are the some of the styles you see like maybe coming back in 2025, and how can clothing resellers like kind of take advantage of what is to come in that trend?
Yeah. So, where to begin? One thing that I've been like thinking about because I'm like formulating some content about is kind of like the resurgence of preppy style and kind of what it means now in 2025 versus, maybe like 2010, which is kind of like the previous wave of like really big preppy of like Gossip Girl style. And it's not necessarily that like Gossip Girl like prep school kind of um aesthetic for prep.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at more kind of like Ivy League. So a lot of like rugby shirts and tweeds, tartans, kind of like whatever like would be like a uniform for like an Ivy League in the 70s is kind of
Mm-hmm.
the aesthetic that we're looking at. A lot of like retro pieces have been kind of coming through, like sambas, Adidas sambas, and that kind of like
Yeah.
that like very streamlined, more retro silhouette of a shoe. Yeah, rugby shirts and collars, polos, that very like kind of preppy basic. And it is very menswear inspired. Yeah, light academia, sure. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of that. Yeah, yeah, a lot of like tweeds and Fair Isle vest for sure. Plaids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the dark academia too, the like
Mm.
blazers and Oxfords. Yeah, that kind of feel. So it's not the same as, what you see being seen on Gossip Girl necessarily. It's more of a like a laid back
Mm.
um
Preppy,
like
school style,
preppy.
college
Mhm.
style. Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking more like Ivy League is.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Can you like describe maybe some brands that would be more related to that style aesthetic? I think of like J. Crew, Ralph Lauren.
Mhm.
But maybe it's not so much related to brands. Like if you see a Time and True, kind of like a lower end brand, but that has that style aesthetic. Is that something that I don't know? Does that even matter anymore? Brand? Um, what do you think?
I'm not sure. I mean, for some people, I'm sure brands do matter. And maybe they are looking for, the Ralph Lauren, the J. Crew, the Lacoste is a really big brand. That's kind of like getting a comeback with this resurgence of preppy style. Um, but I don't know. Yeah, I think if it's like it's a solid piece that fits the aesthetic, gets the job done in terms of you can wear it and it'll fit into the look that you're going for. I think that yeah, um, whatever you can find, and really these days, brand stores, they are turning out clothing at a lightning speed, and they can accommodate a variety of aesthetics. Like I just went into there's a brand new Madewell in Soho in Manhattan, and yeah, they're kind of just like ticking off all of the boxes. They like are just covering like all of the they like had like kind of like a quiet luxury section, and then they had their preppy section, and then they yeah, tick off all the boxes. So really any like mall store brands, Madewell, J. Crew, I don't know, Aritzia is kind
Yeah.
of
Okay.
um, I don't know. I don't actually have any malls. I can just
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's straight to the manufacturer. I love that. And this is a question for later, but since we're kind of on the topic, who in the heck is setting the trends? How does that even work? Is it as simple as going to the runway and seeing what's being worn? Or influencers? I don't know. What do you think is a more uh yeah, what's your thoughts?
There's yeah, it's not so simple these days. It's just like, whatever brands are putting down the runway. Definitely that is a huge influence because, that is what people are going to be wearing, especially in kind of like the the higher rungs of influencerdom of the people who are going to be attending shows. So, kind of like part of what I do is street style at Fashion Week in addition to, just every day. So the street style of the Fashion Week is a little bit more prescribed where it's, the brand addresses the influencer shows up to the show and, they're wearing the brand, they're wearing exactly what the brand wants to be communicating to the masses. Um, I think that's especially true for Paris and Milan. Those are ginormous brands, it's Chanel, it's Prada. And so it is very prescribed, and everybody is wearing exactly what the brand wants them to be wearing. But in cities like New York and especially Copenhagen, there's a lot more personal style that comes out from influencers. So even if, a brand is dressing an influencer, they kind of allow more, or yeah, just more personal style and mixing and matching, especially in Copenhagen. Copenhagen is really big on like sustainable fashion, so vintage, secondhand, reworking pieces. So there's a lot more just personal style, and that comes out from there. That's Yeah, so that's kind of like part of it of like, okay, is our brands like really trying to like control the narrative of like this is exactly what we are dressing influencers in. So there is definitely some influence in that. But then there's also kind of the bigger wave of brands kind of being like, do whatever you want. And like, here's the piece, and style it however you want. Um, and then then there are also influencers who are just completely out of that cycle.
Yeah.
They are not going to fashion weeks. They don't have, contracts or PR relationships with big brands, and they are just wearing whatever they want. And they are completely setting trends on their own. Maybe they might be a little inspired by, colors or general silhouettes, but they're just kind of completely going off of whatever
Yeah.
inspires them personally. And usually that's not fashion. Um, it's usually, it's art, it's culture, it's politics, whatever. And they're just kind of
Right.
going off of that.
One that I can think of recently, just off the top of my head, was when that Barbie movie came out. I don't think Barbie core style aesthetic, I don't know if it even existed before the Barbie movie, but you could sell anything hot pink or pink on eBay.
Yeah.
Terrible
Right.
brand
Yeah.
for $30, $40, $50, and you're like, I mean, it's kind of come and gone, but that's like a good example of like, man, things can come and go in this fashion industry, and it's really interesting the perspective, like, the brand and the influencer relationship, kind of how that works. And then if there's a big influencer like Kanye or someone that can just be out on their own and wear whatever, and it is like huge in the resale world because you got to be on top of it, especially when it comes to vintage. If someone wears something, I can think of Taylor Swift. You can find an Old Navy Taylor Swift, if it's the exact kind of plaid colorway, those sell for $150 on eBay. It's an Old Navy shirt that's found at Goodwill for $3, and so it's really interesting. And I really do think if you can focus on just gaining the knowledge of the fashion trends like you have yourself, you could really do well in reselling. Because when people get into reselling clothes, they just, the first thing is they think I don't have access to good brands, so I'm not going to do well. But now we live in an era of social media where, that's not true, because you can just source style-based stuff. So this is why I wanted to have you on and just let people know and encourage them. Like, if you're watching on the other side, you can build a 6-figure business just focusing on the style-based aesthetics. But it is a whole new learning curve. I'm still learning, trying to catch up. So that's good. I love hearing that point of view. Now let's see, like, hey, I don't know what your background is in this, but if you were a full-time clothing reseller, what are some of the brands or styles that you personally would pick up to resell, and why?
Yeah. So I have
It's a tough one.
it's a tough one. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, I personally don't actually wear a lot of the trends that I'm like talking about and spotting. Like, some of them kind of like bleed into my personal style, but for the most part, I'm like pretty set on like what I like, and it's been set like that for a while. Um, I'm definitely like, I prioritize like comfort and utilitarianism, functionality, practicality. But I do like a little bit of edge. But for the most part, like I love to go thrifting a lot, and usually what I will like gravitate towards is silhouettes.
Mm-hmm.
And lately, like one of the big trends that I've really loved is like 90s minimalism silhouettes. So actually I can show you.
Yeah, definitely,
I've
definitely.
picking up a lot of these like just like very simple tank tops that are like 90s brands, petite sophistication. Like these brands are not at all like, you know, modern. JKLA California. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like it's just like it's very simple. It's
Yep.
tank
Yeah.
tops. This is like, yeah, that's like what I gravitate towards personally. Um and yeah, it kind of I don't know, that also kind of helps me like navigate through the thrift store, which can sometimes be
Right.
very overwhelming. It's kind of like, okay, I know I like this one silhouette. I like, there's a couple brands that I like. Um, and then I just go and I just look
Yeah.
for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you like not only are you picking up stuff like, that has value, but you would just gravitate more towards stuff that you actually personally like, which is 90s minimalist. Um, oh, that's great. That's great. So,
I don't know if that answers the question, but
no, no, I mean, everyone has their own style, and you know best. The styles come and go. So, and we're gonna get into that later, kind of what's hot and what's not. But, um, so yeah, and then that's actually my next question. So, what's something maybe that's falling out of trend? Like, what's something that, hey, in 2025, that was cool 10 years ago, 5 years ago, a year ago. Stay away from it. Don't pick it up. No one's buying that. I know Yeezy, rest in peace, but
sorry.
the Yeezys, with the Adidas and Kanye breakup,
Oh, yeah.
the value just tanked. So,
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
yeah, but that's kind of the ups and downs of fashion. So, what do you think? What's your take on something to avoid this year?
Yeah, something to avoid. I mean, something that I've been talking about on social media lately is the like chunky dad sneaker. Has definitely kind of fallen out of favor amongst the masses. Um, and again, like what I said, like I honestly I don't know, like abide by a lot of the personal things that I spot. Like I will still be wearing the chunky dad sneaker. Like I live in a walkable city. Like I need like a functional, shoe that can actually support my feet. But in the general senses, yeah, people are not looking for that really chunky silhouette of shoe. They're looking for the slimmer, so the Samba, the Gazelle. Gola is another big brand that I think is going to be like kind of up and coming. The has a very similar silhouette. I mean, honestly, like Sambas have also kind of come and gone. Sambas were like the it shoe for the last year. But yeah, now I think people are looking for alternatives. The same silhouette though, so this slimmer silhouette. But yeah, so brands like Gola and other kind of like heritage retro brands like that. Um, so yeah, that's my shoe report.
The chunky dad shoe, like the New
Yeah,
Balances.
yeah, the New Balances, like the Balenciaga kind of, was kind of the first ones that had that. But yeah, that like that silhouette. Um, oh gosh, putting me on the spot. I should have.
Uh, okay, I have and we could just walk through it. I have a here that you made.
Okay, yeah. Please remind me what I.
It's actually a year ago, which is going to be great because now we'll see if
Oh
this changed. So yeah, walk us through this post here, and just to get your perspective on what the heck's going on. Let's see. So right here, okay, we can all see it. Let me zoom in.
Oh,
This was
right, yeah.
a year ago. So we're going over what's in, what's out. This was made actually in 2023 in December. You had posted this, so you were talking about the shoes. Is this still relevant today? Coming in, remixing the trends. I mean, when you look at your Instagram page, I'm kind of like lost because I'm like, this is a thing, because there's mixing. I'm like, what is going on? Uh, but that's me. I'm not a fashion expert. Is that relevant today? Remixing the trends, is that in? What's going on?
Yeah, I think so. Like what I mentioned, there are some influencers and just fashion people in general who are kind of like outside of the general cycle. They're definitely hopping on the like remixing the trends. Kind of, maybe they'll take like a color or a silhouette or a texture or something that might be in, but then just doing whatever they want with it. So it kind of feels like it's still current, it's modern, contemporary, but it's not, you know, exactly what you're seeing from everybody else. And then I also think with brands in general, they're taking like trends that have been big for the last maybe 2 years or so. So first in mind comes to is bows. Um have been huge. We kind of see like a big surge in the holidays, without fail every single year for eternity. But just like bows in general have been a really big trend. And I have spotted on runways, brands are still putting bows down runway. They're not necessarily going to be going anywhere, I don't think, but they're doing different things with them. So instead of just like, just a little bow, something like that, they're doing like ginormous bows, or they're doing like completely covered in bows. So they're kind of like they're remixing it themselves, and they're kind of like, okay, what else can we do?
Okay.
Another big trend is sheer. And for a while, I was seeing a lot of like sheer skirts, sheer dresses, sheer tops. And I was like, okay, cool, cool, cool. But now I am seeing brands starting to create like unexpected sheer pieces. So like sheer jackets and sheer shoes and sheer pants and like, or maybe like Diesel has I think it was like 2 seasons ago, they put out a collection, a bunch of pieces. It was like jeans with like, like a distressed knee or like a distressed part, but then it was like sheer. It was so, it's a very interesting remixing of like, you're not just putting a sheer dress down, you're doing something different and innovative with it. That's going to, continue. People are going to continue to be interested in this trend in a different way. Yeah, sheer jackets is something to definitely look out for, I think.
Okay,
It's very
sheer. All
interesting.
right.
Sheer getting one.
Good, because I've been picking it up quite a bit. 90s minimalism, you kind of went over that. That's kind of one of
Yeah.
more of your favorite style aesthetics. Making your own clothing. Hey, you're making your own clothing. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Can someone, hey, maybe if they like to crochet or they have a passion for that, you think that that's something where you can actually build a business around?
Yeah, I mean that's something that I'm like kind of experimenting with myself right now. But yeah, so I knit and crochet. I've knitted for probably the same amount of time that I've done photography. I like learned from my cousin in elementary school. And I only recently picked up crochet, like less than a year ago, but I've just kind of really, hyper fixated on that. Um, but yeah, I've been making a lot of my own clothing. Actually, here, I finished this last night. It's a sweater.
Nice. Let's go. Look at that. That's amazing. Let's see. I gotta see that. Wow.
Yeah,
And how
this
long
is
would it
actually
take for something like that? How long would it take, you to go from start to finish on that?
so this is actually pretty quick. This is like a pretty simple pattern. This is a pretty large gauge. Like it's a thick yarn, big needle, or big hook, sorry. So this maybe took like 5 hours to do. The biggest part without, because it's like a scrap sweater. So these are all like just pieces of yarn that I've used in other projects. It was the finishing that took the most of just kind of like tying all the ends together and stuff like that. But yeah, this is a pretty like once you kind of know what you're doing, this is a pretty quick project. But yeah, I've been making a lot of my own clothing, sometimes inspired by trends, and sometimes just kind of whatever I want to make. So yeah, if I mean, I'm kind of dabbling into actually selling some of my pieces. I'm going to be starting to doing like monthly drops of pieces that I'm making, and just selling them on my website. I've done like markets. I've done one market. It went really well though. I did like a holiday market and I sold some pieces. Um But
I
yeah.
think you could turn that into something huge, personally.
Yeah.
Not only because, you already have your kind of marketing behind it, but just like the value you get from something that's made handmade, like handmade items just in general. I think they're always going to have some kind of value, especially with the fast fashion coming and going. It's like clothes don't even last more than a year. Manufacturers don't want the clothes to last more than a year because they want you to keep buying. Before we hop off that topic, what is the material in that sweater? Do you use is it acrylic or a certain material?
Yes. So my like one caveat to all of this is, at least for like wear or longevity of clothing, I am really hypersensitive to wool and like animal fibers, so I can't work with those. So this is acrylic. So majority of what I do is either acrylic, cotton, or polyester. And that's just because that's what I can work with. But definitely for longevity of pieces, working with wool is really great. It's stronger and just kind of wears better. You have to take better care of it, but the benefits outweigh that. But I will say acrylic these days is pretty good. Brands are kind of innovating ways to make acrylic really feel and wear and last like wool.
Wait a minute, are you tracking your numbers? If you're not tracking your numbers, how do you know you're actually profitable in your business? Too many times I see a lot of beginner resellers not tracking their numbers and they think they're profitable on items that they sell, but in actuality, they are losing thousands of dollars, which is why I'm offering, link down below, a free reseller spreadsheet to help you start to build a good foundation for your resale business. I'll go over it real quick. You can download it below. Really simple to use, but it's going to help you go further faster in your resale business. A thing that often is said in business is what can be tracked can be measured, and what can be measured can be improved upon, which is why this spreadsheet is going to help you, especially if you're just starting out. Follow the instructions. You have an inventory SKU spreadsheet. You got month by month, line by line accounting, and at the end of the day, you could track your year-to-date sales. I did this because I just see so many people thinking that they're profitable in their business when they're actually not. So now back to the episode. No, whenever I'm buying something, I'm really focused on material as well because of the cashmere, the merino wools, silk, linens, even modal, lyocell. It's just like more appealing, right? Versus just a synthetic polyester, something even like an organic hemp, is really, I think hemp, first of all, is going to last so much longer than anything else. And usually just a simple brand, but it's got hemp in it, is going to have more value, more demand. Um,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, materials
uh,
definitely matter.
yeah, like I could think of the brand called Flax. They're a sustainable brand, make a
Mhm.
lot of linen dresses, and they built a brand literally around material and sustainability. So it's a great thing because I like the point of view of like getting clothes to not only last longer, but getting them to not end up in the landfill so people can actually like
Yeah.
continue to wear them. There's just a big waste and consumption thing that bothers me personally, because a lot of clothing is, like Shein, things that just come and go and get thrown away. And, you know, 81.5 million tons of clothing gets thrown away in the USA every year. And that's why I tell clothing resellers, like, don't tell me you can't find clothing because it's that favorite Gucci loafers, they're probably getting thrown away. So you just
Yeah.
got to look in different ways to find product, other than the thrift store. Thrift store is a good place to start. But and I love hearing that. I think you're going to do great making your own clothes just because there is a big demand for handmade stuff. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's great. I love it. So, uh, what are some of your personal favorite like style aesthetics? You went into kind of the 90s minimalist. Is there anything else
Mhm.
that's like, like maybe something that you personally wear or something that you just like when you're taking your photos? You're like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah, personally, in addition to the 90s minimalism, which has really, really influenced me for the last few years, is just general Scandinavian style has just like completely taken over my brain. I've covered 2 seasons of Copenhagen Fashion Week, and every single time it's just like completely rewired my brain of like thinking about personal style. Like I mentioned, there is just a lot of personal style shining through. There's kind of, like a general framework to Scandinavian style. Um, but yeah, there's just a lot of really fun things that people are doing, and a really big focus on secondhand, vintage, and sustainability, which I also really enjoy seeing kind of like playing out in real time. There are thousands of vintage secondhand stores in Copenhagen. And, it seems like whenever I would like talk to somebody and like ask them like, oh, what are you wearing? And, and like something would be a vintage piece that they sourced.
Can you
And
point out anything that would look what you're talking about? What
yeah,
the
could you go to my website?
Yes, yes, yes. I
Okay.
have to get out of here.
I know.
Let it go. And that's gonna be the quick. Y'all, you can check out her website. Link down below. I'll pin it there. But yes, bookmark it at the resource.
Update that. My work, yeah. My work. And then go down to should be a few more. Copenhagen. Yeah, so it's like the right there. Yeah.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Here.
Yeah. So I think you should be able to like click in or maybe go through them, but maybe not. But yeah, so for Copenhagen, I mean it's a bikeable, walkable city. And so a lot of people kind of adjust their clothing based on that. This is also true of like I've been to Amsterdam, Antwerp, a lot of those kind of like northern European cities are very like they're you're hopping on bikes, you're hopping off bikes, so you kind of have to have like this like level of practicality, and also the weather's really unpredictable, so there's like a lot of layers. um but yeah, I don't know, people just like really have fun. With
It looks like
places
a
called
party. Looks like
like
lightning in a bottle, or
yeah,
or
absolutely.
it's like
Yeah, I think
you know
there's a
very
there's a
space.
lot of like there's a lot of like unexpected pairings, like wrong shoe theory is like very very relevant there still. But yeah, just kind of like a lot of layers. But like some key pieces that I at least, spotted this past summer were flip-flops were really big. Um, and then like layering dresses over jeans or other pants, capris. Yeah, there's all these like really unexpected pieces that like I don't know, at least like in American audiences were like, what? But over there it's just like it's just like what they do. But yeah, they just really have a lot of fun. They have fun, but it also feels practical, which is just like such a interesting melding that like is so hard to do, but then like you see them do it and you're like, oh yes, of course. But of
Yeah.
course.
I wonder how much the USA is influenced by European countries, as far as fashion. It seems like when you think of the bigger, luxury brands made in Italy and Bolivia and all these other places, I wonder how much that plays an influence into American culture. Do you think that America maybe is one step behind to the other countries, or I mean, what is it that we do that, I don't know.
I don't know. I think it's hard because America is so big. I mean, you like look at like these other countries and like, these countries are smaller than the state of
For sure.
Texas. So I just think that there's a lot more happening within the United States, and like influences that people are drawing from in general, like cultures, just flat out cultures that exist and how that influences style. Um so yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of hard for the United States to like really like come together and like figure out one style that they're looking for, which is great in some ways. It's kind of like there's like a place for everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I do actually think that American culture influences a lot more of European style than the other way around. Fashion is so globalized now with TikTok and Instagram. I always just laugh whenever I walk into, one of like Pull and Bear, Bershka, in whenever I go to Paris, and like they have shirts that will say like New Jersey on them. I'm like, "Yeah, okay, sure." It's kind of like the American core. Um, you know, New York Yankees hats are huge over there, or have been. American basketball is huge over there too. So yeah, there's just a lot of cultural influences that bleed over there.
Yeah, like the vintage T-shirt culture and
Yeah.
things like that. I
Mhm.
mean, it exists there, but it is, was a huge rage when the pandemic hit. Yeah, so I love that, and you're right because, and you're coming from Seattle. I'm sure the
Yeah.
styles in Seattle versus New York, and the style aesthetics in Florida, more Tommy Bahama, more loose linen silk materials versus like someone in Texas who is getting the Wrangler pearl snaps. Um, so and then that's what when I'm hiring on our sourcing team, I almost give people free way to pick up what's in their area. I'm not telling someone in Florida to pick up jackets. I'm not telling someone in
Right.
Texas to pick up, pea coats. So it's really much. It's like we have these our own trending styles in different parts of the country. Like in Portland, um, kind of like, and you talked about this when you're real. It is totally Mad Max meets like Burning Man meets clown
Mhm.
circus style aesthetic. It's
Do you live in
it,
Portland?
yes, just outside of Portland. Right, so yeah, go into just your everyday walking around. You're gonna be like, wow, interesting. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
uh,
So go to the northeast in Portland, and yeah,
yeah,
you'll see some
yeah,
crazy stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Probably some good street photography to be taken there. So yeah, that's beautiful. I love it, and I love learning too because this is all a new thing for me the last couple of years. And just being able to kind of clue in on what's in your area. This is what I tell resellers. That are looking to get going with clothing is just focus on what's in your area and double down on that. Like if you live in Texas, focus
Yeah.
on Western stuff. If you live in Florida,
Mhm.
focus on the looser silk linen materials. And just seeing New York in general, I think that is like not only with the luxury goods, but, I think it's kind of like a haven for a lot of that stuff that we don't typically see, in an Alabama or a Missouri, things like that. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of other things play into that, but, um, well, that's good. That's good. So, um, vintage market took off just most recently in 2020. Do you see it still being as hot as it was back then? We're talking vintage shirts, just vintage stuff in general, like things from the 90s. Do you think it's still going to continue to gain popularity, or do you see this kind of slowly fading out and more people gravitating more towards the modern stuff?
Yeah. Okay. First question, what is your definition of vintage? Like, what is the actual like age?
20 years and older. Yeah, I know there's no like
Okay.
vintage police, but yeah, 20 years and older. And that could be now 2004, things that are like
Yeah, right.
strange to be vintage, but yeah, 20
Yeah.
years.
Okay, yeah, 20 to 30 years was like what I was taught. Um and then okay, yeah, because I see people who are like selling like wet seal from 2010 and calling it vintage. I'm like, is that vintage? Or is that just kind of like retro? Or I don't even know. Like what is that supposed
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe like keyword jacking too, because you can see it on eBay.
Yeah.
Things that are made in like 2015, they put vintage in there, and to the common buyer, the consumer, like, oh, this is vintage. It's like, yeah, it was made 10 years ago, but
Right.
yeah, the 20
Yeah.
years is kind of the bar that we like to set to call something, retro vintage.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think that, kind of like 90s is going to be continuing, although I don't know. I think I don't honestly, I don't know. Now that I think of it, I don't know, because 90s kind of like went hand in hand with quiet luxury. So like Totem and the Row. And those are kind of like slightly going out of favor. Um, yeah, I think what okay, let me let me rephrase this. So right now we're looking at like quicker and quicker cycles of like fashions coming back. Like it used to kind of be like every 10 years and so and like now it's just like it's at the speed of light. And we're seeing a lot. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of like 2010s style coming back. Um so yeah, I guess to like from like 12 years ago or something. So like Tumblr style, like the printed leggings and the booties and the like boho. Like boho is going to be huge. Um, like Coachella style, that kind of
Mm.
stuff. Um, so like not necessarily vintage, but like not modern. But I kind of it kind of feels like us in like in this yeah, nebulous area where yeah, it's not quite vintage, but not yeah.
Right.
I don't know if I answered the
Well, the
question.
cycles come and go. And with
Yeah.
fashion, it's like I have a hard time keeping up, really, to be quite honest with you. Which is like why I like selling men's clothing. And maybe you
Yeah.
can speak on that too. But men's clothing is definitely like, and just think of the end consumers. Like, men can wear the same shirt for 20 years. They don't care if it's in style. This is my favorite shirt. It's got holes in it, paint stains. They don't care. So,
Yeah.
with women's clothing, definitely whole different story. But also, too, when you walk into a thrift store, 90% of the items are women's clothing. So,
Yeah.
there's a great opportunity there if you can, educate yourself. There's a great chart here. I think you shared this chart as well. It is a really good one, just talking about
Yeah.
trend. When to identify a trend, what trend are we in? And this is a really good one. I suggest guys to like screenshot this, bookmark it. Just the fashion trend curve. This is a great
Yeah.
one. This is
Sophia
great.
feet style.
Mm-hmm. I love this. So I guess, maybe walk us through creation, early growth, then the marketing begins, and then the wave happens. So you're saying basically that these are becoming shorter and shorter, um, and they're just transitioning much faster. Um,
Yeah.
it's pretty interesting looking at this. Can you give us some more detail maybe on something that's not trendy right now? Like at all? Like totally, like why are you wearing that? What's going on?
Yeah, like completely not trendy at all, at all, at all. Okay, I'd say I'm trying to think of like, okay, what did I wear in like college? Or like
Yeah.
no, okay, like post college. Okay, what did I wear? Ooh,
I mean, I could think of like for
yeah.
us in resellers, maybe 5 years ago when I first got started, skinny jeans you would still pick up.
There we go.
I
Yes.
don't know if
Yeah,
they're
skinny jeans.
coming
Yeah.
back though, maybe too, because the cycle's so come and go.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like everything is kind of like on the edge of like creation again, but like yeah, it's just like the edge between creation 1 and not trendy 6 is like razor thin at this point where like as
Yeah.
soon as something comes out, a brand is like, let's pick back that up and put at the start again. So yeah, skinny jeans, thank you. Yeah, they are just not at all the silhouette that 99% of people are looking for anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they were the like macro trend. I've started talking about like, okay, what are like macro trends that kind of define a generation or an era of style.
Yeah.
So, skinny jeans really define like the 2010s. And now like more wide leg, loose jeans are now defining the 2020s.
Mm.
Um, what was your original question?
Oh yeah, just to describing what was not in trend anymore, and the thing that came off my mind, it was like skinny jeans. So basically, going from like that silhouette of more of like the defined skinnier look is now
Mhm.
basically the exact opposite. You want oversized, baggy, slouchy. You
Very
just
jeans.
yeah, you see it. Like Free People is notorious for this is an extra small, but it looks like it'll fit. a 3XL, and you're like,
Right.
for me
True.
as a male, I'm like, what is going on here? God,
Yeah.
it's extra small, but it's like a pit to pit of like 40. What is going on? But yeah, and that, just seeing like the bigger brands produce more of the oversized stuff, that is the trend, right? They spend millions to billions of dollars a year in market research. So it's really just like clue into what are the big manufacturers doing, because they're spending the money paying to produce that a manufacturer is not going to produce something that's not in trend unless they want to go out of business. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that, and I wonder how that all works, but we can get into that later. So is there any like, brands are a focus, styles are a focus, but is there any like particular brands that you like or that you've seen personally being worn more and more? School us up on some brand knowledge. What brands out there that maybe we should start to look to pick up?
Yeah, I think okay, one brand that kind of comes to mind first is COS, COS. They have been putting a lot of money into the American market. They're pretty big in Europe already, but yeah, they're putting a lot of focus in the European market, and they have pretty nice pieces. Like I have a couple pieces from them, and they also are setting some trends. Like they have like that kind of like quilted bag. Um, it's hard to describe it, but yeah, there's like this quilted bag that they came out with, and then immediately,
Hmm.
Amazon was duping it. Everybody was duping it. So they're setting a lot of trends. So yeah, if you're just kind of like keeping an eye on them, um, and I kind of feel like if as we're like kind of going into looking back into 2010s style and kind of like rocker boho moto chic, which is kind of like what is coming up on a lot of like trend reports. A brand would be Zadig and Voltaire. They've kind of just kind of like been a steady brand over the years, but a lot of what they are putting out kind of falls into that aesthetic of like leather moto jackets and studs and chains and leopard prints and kind of like the like indie sleeves. Like if we're thinking like indie sleeves tumblers coming back, like Zadig and Voltaire is definitely a brand to look out for. I actually did once find a Zadig and Voltaire shirt at a Value Village for like $5. And
There we go. Value Village. Let's go. Yeah.
so good. I miss Value Villages now being on the East Coast.
Yep. Yeah, no, they're actually still, I mean, I don't know what thrift store prices over there are, but yeah, it's, Goodwill's charging $25 for a pair of used Levi's. So, you got to look elsewhere.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. And I do pick up costs. I do find it quite not a ton, but, when I do find it, I know it's a valuable piece, but I didn't know that, hey, it's picking up, gaining in popularity. What would you say is like the style aesthetic that they produce? More like minimalist or?
Yeah, definitely more minimalist, kind of on the quiet luxury minimalist side. But I do think that they'll play a lot with textures, which I think kind of gives them like an edge in the minimalist game that kind of sets them apart. So like they'll play with like textures and kind of unexpected tailoring perhaps. So yeah, they always just whenever I like walk by their store in Soho and I look at whatever they have in the window, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I like that. I could wear that, or even if I wouldn't wear that myself, like I enjoy looking at this. I think yeah, they just do a really good job at mixing things together.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty interesting just seeing from a point of view from someone that maybe wants to get into reselling clothing, and then they come to your Instagram. It can be almost a little bit like, what is going on? Is this real? Because there's so much mixing, and coming from someone that knows no fashion, which basically is where I'm still learning. You're like, wow. But if you can really deep dive, what people are wearing, and then identify some of the keywords and style aesthetics to put in your title to market that item, you can really have a great competitive advantage. We talk about keywords a lot in this community. Keywords, because you can have a great style aesthetic item, but if you don't know how to sell it and you just label it like shirt, but you can add in login look, witch core, all these different types of styles.
Yeah.
Can you just tell me some good keywords that we could be putting in our titles, or maybe some keywords that you particularly like for your style or what you've seen?
Yeah. Ooh, good question. So I
I
think,
mean, minimalist is a good one. I always put
yeah,
minimalist,
minimalist
preppy
for sure.
for Ralph Lauren and J. Crew.
Yeah. I mean, like boho is going to be a big one coming up.
Bohemian. Boho, Bohemian. Okay.
Boho chic. Let's think what else. I mean, you can just add core to the end of anything for sure. But I also think like colors, I'm guessing, is also like if you're like using a very descriptive color instead of like red, do cherry red or burgundy, or something which is a very big color right now, burgundy,
Tiffany blue.
cherry red, Tiffany blue, or thing like brat green. I mean, brat green isn't this. That was more of like the summertime thing. Again, one of those things that's like all of a sudden comes up just from pop culture, and everybody's looking for a piece like that. But yeah, kind of having a very descriptive color. Yeah, you can really add core to the end of anything. I'm thinking like
Grandma
cool
core.
uniform. Hmm?
Grandma core, grandpa core. We picked those
Exactly.
at
Yeah.
a time. Yeah.
Yeah. Ivy League core, academy core, any
Yep.
kid core, like childhood core. A big kind of like general trend that I've been seeing emerging is kind of like healing your inner child and kind of doing like, I don't know, it's almost like elementary school core with like the keychains and the bows and the school uniform, that kind of thing. Tamagotchi, yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
I see it too. It's interesting because I'm 35, growing up in the 90s, before the cell phone era. You see it coming back, and not only is it that nostalgia, but yeah, you see it, and it's like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. The loud patterns, the extreme colors. Is there anything like pattern wise that you see maybe coming and going? Is there any specific prints that you see that are maybe picking up in trend or falling out?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, animal prints in general have kind of been on the rise. And like leopard print has been huge for, this second half or so. No, good amount of 2024 with like the mob wife aesthetic. And then now it's just kind of like leopard print on its own. And that also kind of feeds into like the indie sleeves, rocker chic kind of look. Um, so yeah, animal prints. And I saw another like kind of like fashion trend forecaster reporter account that I really like is Old Loser in Brooklyn, Mandy. And she just posted something on Threads yesterday or the day before about like multiple animal prints. And one thing that she mentioned was fawn print. And I was like, ooh, okay. Which kind of seems, it feels like kind of like think of like a baby deer, and it's like
Mm,
brown and then like white spots. So it kind of feels like the next evolution of leopard print. It's kind of like an alternative to leopard print.
mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I feel like people. This is kind of like the trend of like people like get on a trend, and then they get a little bored of it, but they're not like ready to try something like completely different. So then they look for something that's kind of like adjacent to it.
Yeah. Okay.
So, if people were really into leopard print, like, okay, maybe I want to try something a little bit different. Maybe they go to fawn or snakeskin or something like that. That's kind of like feels, yeah, adjacent.
Somewhat similar, yeah. Okay. Well, what are some good indicators determining when a trend will fade? Is just people like kind of like what you're saying. Will people just either pick something adjacent to what is, similar, or like what is some indications where it's like, yeah, that's no one's really doing that anymore? Do you see it when you're out and about in New York, or
Yeah.
is it like talked about on social media? I mean, how does that work?
Um, I mean, it's probably both for me. I feel like I'm just so entrenched in that world that, yeah, I'm kind of getting like information from all sides of, other people who are talking about it. But then also, yeah, just what I see every day, either, on the street or at fashion weeks. But yeah, you'll just start to see less of one thing and more of the other thing. And just take mental notes and say, like, hey, but I mean, also, I don't know. It's also hard in New York. I mean, in New York, people will, there are tons of people who are completely out of it. But if you're kind of,
Right.
looking at like Soho, kind of going to these like very concentrated neighborhoods where like people are actively participating in the trend cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You'll just
that's
see
kind
it.
of where you
You'll
look.
just see it. Since you're the boots on the
You'll
ground,
just
you
see
will
it.
see it. Yeah.
You'll just
Okay.
see it.
Well, that's good because I live outside of Portland. I'm not, yeah, not out here. Out here is Carhartt, and they wear it for 5 years, and then that's it. There's no pink.
Carhartt is gonna be. I think Carhartt is having like a renaissance too. Carhartt is big in Europe. Just
Yeah. All right. Well, out here, we're setting the trend.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't even know it. That's the thing, too, is like
Yeah,
people who don't know. Yeah.
you're accidentally part of it.
That's good. That's good. I love it. Um, so you're walking into a thrift store, you do some thrifting. Where are you going? First thing, you're walking into a thrift store, where are you going first and why?
Mm.
Is it because you're looking for something valuable or maybe something that you personally like yourself?
I mean, personally for me, like I'm not in the resale business.
Mm.
I'm more just kind of going for myself. I'll usually go for like the most accessible thing first. And usually that's just tops. And so that's usually kind of like, okay, I'll just kind of like go through those. Those don't really usually require like you trying them on every time, It's kind of like, okay, if it's like a general size and I like it, I'll probably buy it. And then,
Mm-hmm.
if it's a little oversized or undersized, whatever, I'll deal with it. Same goes for accessories. That's kind of just like the easy thing. So like, if I'm not really in the mood to be like trying things on or really, but I still kind of want to just kind of do a little bit shopping, that's usually what I'll go for. And then past that will be like shoes, pants, jackets. Those are kind of the more things that require me to
Yeah,
try them
right.
on.
For me, I'm going to the jackets first because just the higher return on my time. Jackets usually sell year round, especially when you're selling to a worldwide audience. Jackets is where I'll go, pants, and then staying within the season too. Like I'll pick up stuff that's in the summer. I'll definitely double down on jackets, and then the winter, button up shorts because just less competition in those categories.
Yeah. And then you'll have ready inventory when the time comes, I'm guessing.
Exactly. So, and then that's the good part about selling nationwide, worldwide is it's always hot somewhere. It's always cold somewhere.
Cold America. Yeah.
So I love that. So I just want to go through this in or out. You probably know much more than I do. So in or out, like, is this something that's coming in or going out? We already talked about skinny jeans. Maybe they make a meteoric rise here when someone famous wears them. But
Miu Miu's really trying. They've been cutting skinny jeans down the runway, addressing their influencers. So
okay, well maybe guys. So what about leather biker jackets? I see a lot of on your page. Is that something that's still going to continue on? Like kind of the biker core style.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, biker jackets, but then also like the biker boots. And combining that with also like the reemerging boho style. I feel like boho and like biker are kind of like cousins.
Okay. And then what about pea coats? The heavy long trench pea coats. Are they coming in, going out?
I think those are also coming back in. They've been out for a really long time. And I guess I'm thinking, I mean, like long trench peacoats have been in for a while, and those are kind of like a classic style that I don't think will really see much movement on, but more of like the cropped peacoats and especially like swing coats, kind of like the swing style of a peacoat. I think those are coming in. I've been seeing designers putting them out, stores putting them out, influencers wearing them. So yeah, I'd keep an eye out for more of the cropped version.
Okay. Yeah, so shorter, sailor-esque kind of.
Yeah.
and we sell a lot of pea coats year round. They're just nice, but also
Yeah,
I'm not paying
absolutely.
attention to like the style. Like, is this a trending style? But as a personal, really nice to have at least one in your closet. And you talked about loud pattern print leggings.
Yeah.
What is that exactly? Are you like art to wear leggings with crazy patterns? Is that just like something that is on the uptrend now?
Yeah, I think in a way. So right now what I'm seeing a lot of are printed tights. But tights and leggings, very similar. So yeah, I've been seeing a lot of tight first it started with lace tights and just kind of like bold color one color tights, and then the next season it was printed tights, so a lot of like leopard print and plaid and polka dots. But yeah, I mean that is a slippery slope back to like the black milk galaxy print leggings that
Yeah.
we that I loved in 2013.
Yeah,
So
yep.
yeah.
I think of like LuLaRoe, not the best brand, but boy, I think they definitely capitalized on pretty much every single pattern.
I really did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this one's kind of my favorite up and coming is just crochet stuff, usually because it's handmade. But do you see that coming in more in gaining popularity or kind of fading out crochet, sweaters, knit hats, things like
Mhm.
that?
I think it's kind of like in the middle. Like it's already kind of been having its rise, and I think it's gonna stay there for a little bit longer. Um, and I also think of like, cultural moments like the Taylor Swift crochet dress thing that happened this year? I don't remember when that was, but it happened. And what was I thinking? Yeah, like kind of like headwear. I've been seeing like a trend away from just like it's like anything but a beanie for winter headwear. So like
Mm-hmm.
balaclavas and bonnets and just kind of like funky hats, weird hats. That and usually those are crocheted in one way or another.
Yeah.
Crocheted or knitted to look like crochet.
Okay.
Whole nother.
Okay. There is a difference.
There is a difference. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I love that. Um, and it's interesting because like you kind of said, is that something can be out almost of a trend, and then some influencer wears it, and it just changes everything.
Right.
And you're like,
Yeah.
all right, well, interesting. It's a whole different world when you're doing style-based sourcing and trying to stay on top of it, which is good to have a resource like yourself to learn. Another one too, this has kind of been for the last 4 years since I've been doing reselling, but just baggy jeans. Do you think that's still on the uptrend, or what life cycle are we in that stage for just baggy jeans, men's and women's?
Yeah. I I think I mentioned this before of like baggy jeans or just kind of like, yeah, loose fit jeans are more of a macro trend. So they're kind of functioning outside of the typical style fashion trend curve churn. So I think I think they're pretty solidly like, yeah, they'll be around for a little bit longer, a year or
Yeah.
two at least. But it's kind of what I was talking about with the patterns, or yeah, of like leopard print, going from leopard print to other animal prints. Of like people are experimenting within that category. So barrel like jeans have been a big trend, and then like maybe we're gonna be seeing more just like flare jean, more kind of like 70s flare jean styles rather than like the big baggy cargo jeans. People are looking for something new and fresh within the category. Um, but yeah, I do think that the general silhouette of baggy jeans, loose jeans, straight leg jeans, will be in for a little bit longer. So yeah, keep sourcing those.
Right. And in your, when I was growing up, the Pepe jeans, the South Pole jeans, the Echo jeans, the Jinko jeans, uh, those you often got almost made fun of for wearing. And now, I don't know how much you go like on Depop or eBay, but some of those pairs of jeans are selling for over 100, $150, $200, depending on the pattern and style. Um, and
Just people wearing them.
yeah, yeah. And the more obviously not the 70-year-old man, but more of the younger generation. And when you're taking photos of those type of items, you're really wanting to focus on the silhouette of those items to really portray like how baggy they are. You want to show like the width of the hem and the opening of the hem, and if it's not 10 inches, it's not baggy.
Yeah.
So and that is a good example of a style aesthetic that really doesn't matter much about the brand. If it's baggy, you can market it in a way where you can make $30, $40, $50 on that item, where it can be passed up all day long at the Goodwill outlet or place like that. So baggy jeans, I think, have been continuing to rise up. More of the younger generation goes crazy. Not something I would typically wear, but hey, they're comfortable. I'm sure they are.
Yeah. No,
So you touched on this earlier, minimalist style aesthetic and kind of utilitarianism, the utility of an item. Where are we in the life cycle of that trend? Are we still seeing an uprise? What do you think?
I think it's changing. Again, I think that's kind of like a macro trend. I think we're seeing kind of like the quiet luxury and the cargo facets of that trend going out. And then I think we are seeing more of like workwear coming in. So like Carhartt, barn jackets, and yeah, and maybe kind of more like unexpected minimalism, like minimalism pieces that are minimalist, in terms of maybe like their color and like patterns, but they have very interesting tailoring. Again, I would look at costs. Like I really feel like cost is like, you would look at something and be like, okay, that's minimalist, there's nothing like too exciting about it, but you look closer or how the person wears it and you're like, oh yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, I think we're going to be going away from just kind of like, just plain sweater, plain pants, that kind of look that we had for a while. Yeah, even we're trying to talk about two things. Yeah, so like the quiet luxury and then the like kind of like
the utility of an item. And I see that too, because chore jackets, barn jackets, the longer length chore jackets, the big pockets at the bottom. If you just go on eBay and just type in chore coat, chore jacket, the sell-through rate, the demand and the supply is close to like 1-to-1, where if you list it, it's going to be sold almost immediately, especially this time of year. A chore jacket, you're talking like an Old Navy, a Faded Glory. If it's flannel lined and it's a chore jacket, you can sometimes get $40, $60, $80 for something that's going to be headed to the landfill. But if you just keyword it up with chore, barn, Western, workwear,
corduroy,
people will find it. Corduroy collars, chore jackets are something we're always trying to pick up, and I can see just gaining popularity with like the style as well.
Yeah, sure.
I'll have to pick one up for myself. So what about Y2K? Is that kind of coming in, going out? When I think of Y2K, I think of really loud, almost like obnoxious color schemes. Extreme, where is Y2K in today's fashion world?
I think it's going out. It's pretty out in general senses. Yeah, I just think as we think of the churn of styles and kind of what's next, what's after Y2K, it's 2010. So the like Y2K maximalism of just like, oh my god, all these pastel and bright colors and big shoes, and kind of goes into the chunky dad sneaker. Yeah, the big shoes and the tiny tops, and things are feeling a little bit more oversized, comfortable, utilitarian. Yeah.
The Y2K I can think of is like even brands that are not so good, the No Boundaries of the world. But if it's a chunky, just a chunky boot, you're getting $50, $75. So that could be on the way out, as you're saying. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to pay attention to things that come and go.
I will say though, a caveat for like the Y2K style is like, in the general senses it might be going out, but I do think that like it still has a chokehold on a really big, subculture of people
Hmm.
who are probably going to still be looking for items like that.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I could think of like rocker style, grunge style, more of the chunky heel, thick um, boots, things like that. Um, and then we talked. What's your thoughts on this one? And then we talked about it really early on. Was Barbie core? Has that coming on? And we're talking like a hot pink stuff.
Yeah.
It had a good price, but yeah, it's fine. Yeah, okay, gone. Okay, thanks Barbie movie for that.
Did your duty.
Yeah, no, that's good. What about and this is what I love. I've loved picking these up all the time. But the heavy, chunky knit fisherman sweaters. Whether they're a Henley, oversized, are those coming and going, or they still have their place?
Yeah, no, I think they are coming in. Do you follow the Pinterest predicts trend report at all?
I don't. I don't. But I could put it in the description.
Yeah.
Is that a good resource?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, they every at the end of every year they put together a report that's it's based on what people are looking for on the
Perfect.
platform. So yeah, so I mean I Pinterest is a huge like part of, who I am as a person really at the end of the day. But yeah, I you can get a lot of inspiration and just knowledge of what people are looking for. Also with the keywords, Pinterest is an entirely keyword driven platform. So if you are looking for keywords to put into your listings, I'm sure go to Pinterest and look for that. um but yeah, and they do a trend report at the end of every year, and one of those things is the fisherman aesthetic. So big chunky sweaters, Fair Isle print, kind of
Yep.
like sea
The-
motifs.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah. No, I love that. They always sell for good money.
Yep.
Especially like the ones that made in Ireland, Icelandic,
Scotland.
Lundel, Scotland. I
Mhm.
think of Aaron Crafts, a really good quality fisherman knit sweater brand that sells 50
I'm
plus
sure.
shipping.
I'm
They're
sure.
good quality. So what about we'll round it up and we're gonna let you go. But last two ones, denim in general, just denim. Is it coming in, coming out? I remember back in the early 2000s, whole denim was the thing. Where is it now?
I mean, denim is eternal. There's always going to be some version of denim that's relevant. But yeah, in the last few years though, like denim on denim, all denim pieces were really big. Probably because it harkened back to Y2K. But I have seen that kind of slowing down a little bit. But I again like just denim is going to be in everything. Designers are always going to use it in some way or another. But probably just incorporating it into whatever is trending at the moment. I can't think of anything like off the top of my head, but yeah, just jeans, jeans,
Yeah,
jeans
yeah,
forever, jean jackets forever. Um, yeah.
especially if it's like a vintage Wrangler trucker jacket
Oh
or
my
a
gosh, yeah.
vintage Levi's type A. It's like those always have sold well for me. Never have I seen something that um wasn't worth picking up. Yeah, it can sell. Lee Extreme Motion denim jeans have an incredibly good demand on eBay, and you're like, yeah, Lee. I mean, it's like they don't need to be vintage. The modern denim sells well. Uh, so I think they're just like you said, just the coming and going. It's always going to have a place in fashion. And then you said this a lot: quiet luxury, old money. What is that
Mhm.
exactly? And where are we at in the trend cycle for that? Is that more like a minimalist style aesthetic, or is it? What is that to you?
Yeah, so quiet luxury has been like, yeah, a thing in the zeitgeist for a while. And it's talking about like Sophia Richie. So like the very minimalist, but like you know that's expensive. So it's a lot of brands that like don't have big logos on all of their stuff. So like Bottega Veneta, like they don't put big logos on all of their stuff, but it's all very nice quality. It's Totem, it's the Row. I don't know if you are familiar with the Row, which is the Olsen Twins brand. Um, they just like it's just like it's black shirts and black pants, but like they're thousands of dollars and they're just really nice, you know, well tailored and all that. But yeah, so it's kind of like having wearing things that are very nice but not flashy. Um, and then the old money style is kind of the inverse in some ways, where it is like a little bit more flashy and like it's a lot of like the lady jackets, so kind of like the Dior or the Chanel. Sorry, well, not everybody's doing it now, but it's the Chanel kind of like tweed with like the big brass buttons. Having a bag that has, you know, Chanel, Dior, something like that on it. Um, yeah, it's a little bit more of like showing a little bit more of like, okay, this is exactly what I'm wearing versus you might not exactly know what the brand is, but you know it's nice.
Yeah, I think of Penny Lane, you know, the fur cuffs, Penny Lane style aesthetic, like 70s, 80s, kind of more showy. And you could pick up almost any brand, but if it looks like that and you put Penny Lane in your title, you can sell it for $50, $100, $200. You know,
Okay.
yeah, it is interesting. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna edit this and just watch, take notes. I encourage a lot of resellers. You know, if you're just starting out, don't get overwhelmed. You know, and don't be discouraged if you can't find certain brands in your area. Go and follow, and just learn. You do a newsletter too. Do you do that every week? And what does that newsletter look like? Like, is that your kind of point of view on trends and what's happening?
Yeah, so I have a Substack. I have kind of fallen off of it to be honest, but I do want to kind of pick back up on it, and there is an archive of things if you want to check that
Okay.
out. But
Cool.
yeah, it's kind of like just my general musings that I kind of wanted to take beyond just a reel on Instagram. Yeah, talking about trends, you know, kind of like some just kind of like processing stuff post fashion weeks, or if I wanted to talk about, you know, um personally what I liked, or like I did one of like brands to look out for, which could probably be useful. Yeah, brands to look out for, trends to look out for. It's just kind of another way for me to be communicating my musings on street style.
And your clothing brand. 25. It's coming out. Well, Karya, this was great. I'll have you on maybe later in the year. I'm sure things will look
Absolutely.
different during that time period. But I'm excited and I'm hopeful that, you know, if people can just take the information, especially what you're teaching on your Instagram, and if you're a clothing reseller, take those keys and run with it, guys. You know, trends come and go, and there's only a certain amount of time to take advantage of that if you're wanting to grow a business. If people can want to get a hold of you, is it best through email, Instagram? What's the best way if they, you know, have questions?
Yeah, either Instagram, I'm pretty good at, you know, checking my messages on there, or email. My email's on my Instagram. It's hello@karyashanelek.com. Yeah. Yeah, those are pretty much the two avenues.
Great. Well, thanks, Karya. This is amazing. I'm looking forward to just going over this, taking notes. Still 7 a.m. here, so I'm still like getting the coffee done.
Right. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I appreciate your time. This was great. I wanted to bring you on for quite some time now because I'm getting more questions, you know, about style-based sourcing, and you know, I'm not 100%, you know, knowledgeable in that because, you know, I'm still learning. So appreciate your time.
Still learning.
Yeah. Hey, never stop learning, right? Never stop.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I appreciate it. You guys have a blessed weekend. Reach out if you have questions. Follow all the links down below if you have questions about anything style based. But yeah, you guys be blessed and take care. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.